My name is Andrew Jacobs. I'm a director of AGT Portman, which is the European distribution arm of AGT Foods and Ingredients, and I've been involved with Global Pulse Confederation and before that Cecile's for over 30 years, and I'm currently the co-chair of the GPC Contracts Committee.
Hi, my name is Jeff Van Pevenage. I'm President and CEO of Columbia Grain International out of Portland, Oregon. I got involved in the pulse business back in 1999 when I was asked to move from Montana out to Washington State, where Columbia Grain had pulse processing facilities as well as our wheat elevators. And in 2005, I thought I was free of the pulse business and moved back to Montana to trade wheat, but a farmer in northeast Montana called our office and asked if we could buy peas and lentils because they wanted to grow them. And my boss looked at me and said, "You're the only one here who knows peas and lentils in our company. You're in charge."
I fell luckily into beans and pulses when I joined my father in the business in 1972. I did a couple of years training working around the world for suppliers, working on farms and in cleaning plants, and when I came back I wanted to find a range of items to import and distribute that the company wasn't already doing. My father specialised in bird seeds, and I thought about trading nuts and honey and grass seeds, but I fell into pulses and I'm very pleased that I did. A specific contract for pulses is needed because we have terms of trade which are particular to us. Most of the trade in pulses has been done on the basis of GAFTA contracts, previously GAFTA Contract 24 and then GAFTA Contract 88, but the new GPC Contract number 1 varies in 3 important ways. GAFTA allows receive for shipment bills of lading, which are dated when the goods are handed over to the container consortia, who can be located thousands of kilometres away from the port of loading. So the date on a receive for shipment bill of lading can be 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the date the goods are actually on board. When we designed GPC Contract number 1, we made the standard condition that the bills of lading should be on board bills of lading. Another area where GPC varies from GAFTA is on the extension of shipment clause, where GAFTA allows up to 14 days extension, granting allowances of up to 2.5%. That really doesn't fly in the pulse trade, and GPC Contract number 1 allows only up to 8 days for extension of shipment, with a maximum allowance of 1%. The third area where GPC Contract number 1 differs is that GPC wanted to be able to take effective disciplinary action against any party who fails to honour an award of GAFTA arbitration. And this is a new and welcome development that GPC is able, through a number of stages that we might touch on later, put pressure on people who default to settle their disputes.
Columbia Grain has and always believed in the sanctity of a contract. And for us, being primarily in the wheat and corn and soybean trade, we saw very few defaults ever, and we had strong payment terms. As you entered into the pulse business, trying to trade 1 container here, 3 containers there, quite often we found lots of disputes in the business. And so I've always been a proponent of strong payment terms, not dealing with customers that couldn't provide strong payment terms or couldn't provide sanctity to a contract. So when the opportunity was there to try to tighten up the contract and make people responsible, make the industry responsible, we quickly jumped on board to try to help that process along. I hope that going forward, we'll have an industry where you can trust almost everybody in the industry. And so trade will happen easier, trade will happen freer, and we'll have stronger payment terms. As we go forward, I can see where blockchain and those types of things are going to come in and make a difference on the payment terms. So the more, the stronger buyers that we have in the marketplace, it will help that process along. I have found that by utilizing GAFTA and by utilizing the GPC contract, that we're able to tell buyers who in the past would simply walk away from a contract, when we come at them and say, we are going to go to GAFTA and we are going to arbitrate this case, most of the time they're turning around and saying, okay, we'll execute the contract as it's supposed to be. I've also had people throughout the industry who've come to me for advice about GAFTA and what should we do when even a supplier is defaulting on them. And I've mentioned, do you have a GAFTA contract? Do you have a GPC contract? When they respond yes, I've said, please enact GAFTA arbitration and tell your seller that you are going to take them to GAFTA.
Jeff, I'd like to jump in here and say how important it is. If you want the protection of GAFTA and GPC, then all your contracts should say terms and conditions as per GPC contract number 1 or as per GAFTA contract 88. If you don't specify that that's the contractual basis, then GAFTA does not have jurisdiction to step in at arbitration and try and find a settlement for the problem.
Correct.
For those disputes that have been referred to arbitration at GAFTA under the 126 expedited arbitration procedure, GAFTA will have published their awards, and the party who has won the arbitration can then claim settlement from the other party. Where this has been ignored, GPC ultimately has the power, provided that it's passed by the executive committee, to name the defaulter. This has happened now on 4 occasions since the beginning of 2019, and there are more arbitrations in the pipeline. So the whole industry knows those that have failed to honour an award of arbitration. This is communicated by email, first of all, from GAFTA, who will send the award requiring the payment in accordance with the award, and if the GAFTA arbitration is neglected and ignored by the losing party, then GAFTA will notify GPC. GPC will take up disciplinary action subject to the approval of the executive committee, which has always been forthcoming. I would say it's a formality. And then through emails, the pressure will be put on the party who's failed to honour the award to either pay up or know that they are going to be named, and a circular email will go out to the membership notifying the members that there is somebody who has failed to honour an award of arbitration. We introduced one small change in January 2019, where for clarity we advised that these rules applied whether or not a party to a contract is a member of GPC, allowing us to notify GPC members of a defaulter even if they're outside the GPC circle. The Contracts Committee will keep that under review, but we're not anticipating any more changes in the near future. The Contracts Committee is focusing on seeing through the current disciplinary process. The legal enforcement of the arbitration awards is taking some time. We do know that there was one case where after GPC stepped in, the defaulting buyer paid $100,000 for the claim to be settled. But we've got some big claims out there, claims for $250,000, $500,000, even $1 million. And these are being taken through the courts in the various countries where the losing party, the defaulter, is resident. We'd like to see how these work out before we make any other new plans. So I'd like to thank you, Jeff, on behalf of GPC, for being one of the pioneers who's taken up GPC contract number 1. It's being used increasingly in the pulse trade, but we need people who are going to pursue defaulters and show that perseverance so that we can clean up our trade. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Your leadership in the process has been excellent, and it's been good for the entire industry.
Thank you.